Welcome to You Are the Magic, the podcast that is supporting women across the world to claim their magic within. I am your host, Deb D, and it's my absolute delight to share with you some of the amazing women that I know who are living big lives and making magic happen. They will be inspiration for you. I'm also going to be sharing with you some solo episodes with a little bit more about my story, the magic that I'm activating, and how you too can ignite and activate the magic within you. Because I believe it to be true. I do believe that you are the magic. And I do believe that it's time for women to reclaim our magic, our intuitive leadership, and our unique gifts and talents so that we can be the wave of change that we know the world needs now. So join me in connecting to the magic in you, the magic of women, and let's share just a little piece of how that magic can be activated today. Welcome, my friends, to You Are the Magic with me, your host, Deb D. Today we are live, and today we are alive. Our hearts are beating. And for some of us, our hearts are broken. My heart's a little bit broken. Today is the 6th of November, 2024. And over the last 24 or so hours, the world has been watching as the votes have been counted. And I had this beautiful hope of Madam President and the rise of women's leadership. And this morning I woke and that hope was put back into a small place and held close. And I'm not the only person who woke to the day that they didn't want to wake to. But what I did know before today is I wanted to share around women and the power of alchemizing our hearts. I was clear that I wanted to share that in this episode today. What I didn't know until this morning is exactly what I wanted to say about that. And I have to admit, the first few beats of this morning was managing the shock waves that were like rippling through my body. It felt like they wanted some expression, some way to get out. I wasn't yet ready to cry or scream, but I was there in this very real moment of again, not only my heart, but women's hearts are breaking for generations and centuries. Our hearts have been broken again and again. And we work that heart repair so we can rise. And that's what we need to do now. Again. Today is the day where we acknowledge that our hearts break. This is what I know to be true. Our hearts do break, and it's by design. Our hearts break so our souls can bounce. So what I want to share with you today is what I have learned over the last 11 years with my embodied, practical research into grief transformation. There is a pathway from your big life loss to your big life magic. I have been on that pathway for the past 11 plus years. I have supported many other people on this pathway. And along the way, I've learned some things. And it helps to understand, why do our hearts break? What is the purpose of this? And what has that got to do with my soul? Because they're the questions that I had at the beginning of my journey. So today I'm going to share with you how I entered my journey, what I found along the way, and how this Lost to Magic framework could support you today or any day that you need to be with your heart, because there is power in alchemizing women's hearts, and we're going to get there. But first we need to understand, why do our hearts break and what that got to do with your soul. It's the Saturday before Easter, 2013. I'm in a hotel room. It's one of those hotel rooms that's like spat off the side of a highway, because I'm on a road trip from Brisbane to Sydney. I'm with my mum, my sister Liz, and my son Sage. And we're mid-journey where we've stopped to rest in this hotel. And I wake in that, those moments just before the light starts to come through. It's not quite yet dawn, but it's morning. And I wake, and there's a guide sitting on the edge of the bed. He is tall and thin, of Middle Eastern descent, and he has this elaborate hat which speaks authority. But he speaks gently. And he leans towards me and he says, "I know you do not want to remember, for you have chosen every night I have come to forget. But we are running out of time. I need you to listen. I need you to remember. The research is important." Now, I wake that morning and my son Sage delights in Easter treats. And I wonder, what is this research about? What is the guide talking about? And then I wake days later, now with my family in the Blue Mountains outside Sydney. I wake days later on the 3rd of April, 2013, and my son Sage does not. During the night, his heart has stopped and his spirit has taken flight. There was no warning. Maybe the guide was trying to warn me, but I didn't know that my heart was about to break, shatter into a million pieces. Sage's heart stopped, and my heart met its big life loss. And this is where the research begins. Now, it took me years to understand that what the guide was talking about was research into grief transformation and how there is a relationship between our heart and our soul, and grief and our soul contracts. It took me years to understand that my lived experience and the work that I will do, what I will speak about, what I will write about, is this research. And then more years in literally researching what is happening with the heart and what is that relationship to the soul. And this is what I know. Your heart breaks by design because your soul designed it, because your soul wants to bounce and expand. So when we take our first breath, earthbound, our soul anchors into our heart. Happens for us all. Your soul comes earthbound with you and informs your earthbound experience. And that experience is felt through the heart. And then we make sense of it with our mind, and our bodies respond. Absolutely, you're living a big, beautiful life. And by design, we will all meet a big life loss. There are 4 Ds of big life loss: death, divorce, diagnosis, or the dream that doesn't come true. For all of us living a full life with a beating heart, we will meet at least one of these Ds. Most of the people I meet have met more than one. I have. My biggest life loss, where the biggest lessons were for me, was in my son Sage's death, where my heart broke open. And it's there that I found fertile ground. You see, when a heart is broken, it cannot be closed. It's broken open. And that fertile ground, that's where the magic is seeded. Because we know as souls, we need our hearts to break. So as humans, we pay attention to that heart. We intentionally put these pieces back together. We will all meet big life loss, and it's by design, and we all have the opportunity to move towards, to journey our way towards our own big life magic. So I want to kind of get to the punchline here before I go through the loss to magic journey and the framework, because it helps to have a light at the end of the tunnel. So why? Why do our hearts break? So this took me a while to figure out. And this is what I now know. Our hearts break so that we are given the opportunity to, yes, put those pieces back together. But why? Because in the repair, we strengthen. This is how we build capacity of the human heart. So the best way to understand it is this. This is how I understood it. When it first clicked in, I was like, oh, hello, I can get my hands on that. And I actually learned this many years before when I was studying traditional Chinese medicine and I was in an anatomy class. And the teacher is talking about how when we're working with muscles that are sore or need work, what we're doing is we're tending to broken muscle fibers. So let's take this as an example. You want to strengthen your bicep muscle. So you pick up the dumbbell and you do your bicep curls. And if you've done enough of them and the weight is strong enough, the next day your bicep is going to be sore. That sore muscle feeling when you know, yeah, the workout worked. I'm working it because my muscle is sore. The soreness that you feel in that muscle is the strain and effort of moving that weight over repetition has literally broken threads of the muscle. That's why it hurts. And then your amazing body works to bring those muscles back, those muscle fibers back together. And when they come back together, they are then stronger. You do that again and again, and bicep muscle develops in strength and shape, and you got what you wanted. You got a stronger muscle. Now, the same thing happens with our energetic heart. Our heart breaks open, and then we can choose. Do I intentionally repair these heart fibers, these pieces that are broken? Because if we do intentionally choose this, then we are in turn strengthening our energetic heart. This is what it's all about. This is why our hearts break on by design, so that we as humans are forced to pay attention to our hearts, to not get caught up in our head, to not get caught into everything that's happening around us. But if you've been on a grief journey, if you have met a big life loss, you know it. Every beat of that day, you are aware of your heart because you can feel it. You can't not feel it. That's big life loss. All of the attention comes here, into the heart space, by design. But you know what? As a beautiful human, you get to make a choice. We all do. Because, yeah, we've got soul contracts. We've got things that we've figured out up in spirit that we're coming earthbound to explore, expand, do. That's what we do when we're working through our soul contracts. We're just living our lives and expanding our soul. Our soul is bouncing while we do that. And while we're earthbound human, we have free will. So we meet this big life loss, and then we meet a choice. And the choice is, I can be with these broken pieces, and I can choose to not actively repair. I can choose to hold them close, and this can become my story that I broke. that something happened to me. Or I could choose to bury it, or I could choose to ignore it, or I could choose to put a Band-Aid on it. This happens. Sometimes this is the choice that someone will make. Or you be with those broken pieces and you choose to be with them and actively repair, actively work on heart repair, intentionally, consciously. Thread those heart fibers back together because you are working towards the capacity of your heart, the strengthening of your heart. And deep down, you know that. Like in the beginning of a big life loss journey, really, what we want is we want the pain to go away. We want it to stop hurting, which is why some people choose to not repair, to bury, to put a Band-Aid on it. And there's this other choice, which is a longer journey, really. But there's so many more gifts along this journey. So this is why we work on heart repair, because we want to strengthen the energetic heart, because from a stronger heart, we have more capacity, we have more compassion, and we have more to give and share. And we are in service to our soul and its expansion. It's by design. Your heart will break. But you get to choose if you go on the big life loss to the big life magic journey. And if you do, or if you have already been on that journey, you know it's not easy. There's a lot of fear and anxiety. There's also some amazing, mystical, wonderful experiences you can have along the way. It's not a straight journey. It's not linear. There's twists in the plot. And it's going to ask you to dig deep. Alchemizing our broken hearts is big, big soul work, my friends. And if you choose to go on this journey, where you arrive is at a place with this expanded heart that invites big life magic. But we can't rush there. You can't rush to the magic. Trust me, I tried it. I did more than once. I really thought, oh, I'm really working on these fibers. I'm really working on the repair. I'm ready now to leap towards the magic. And I did. I found some magic, and I also found a lot of crashing and crumbling. We cannot rush towards the magic because really the fertile ground is in the loss. And when we're with loss, it's really easy to get lost. Which is why, as a part of the work I've been doing over the past 11 years, is I decided to create some navigation points. Because one of my grumbles at the beginning of my grief transformation journey was, I was like, where's the guidebook? There's no map, there's no navigation. Nobody seems to know how to help me get to the next step or how to even support me in this, other than to tell me to feel my feelings and go through it. And for me, that wasn't enough. So I researched into what is actually happening here with the heart vibration and its connection to soul expansion. What's actually happening here? And this took me quite a while to discover. And I discovered it through my own journey. And I also discovered it with the many people who trusted me with their big life loss. And this I know to be true. There is a pathway from your loss to your magic. And I have created the navigation. I have created the framework so that we can be with our loss and not get lost. So loss to magic is LOSS, and then we shift to MAGIC. There's your navigation on your magical map. So loss is where we begin. You meet a big life loss. You may already have met one. You know someone who's currently sitting with a big life loss, or you're a woman like me or a person like me in the world who today is feeling a little broken because it didn't go the way that your heart wanted it to go. And we're at the beginning. And we begin with the first letter, L. L is love and lessons. Now, in love and lessons, we sit in love and lessons for as long as we need to. And for some people, this can be months. For some people, it could even be a lot longer or shorter. But we sit as long as we need to because this is where the shock settles and we begin to connect to the love, which then leads us to the lessons. Because the reason it hurts is because you care. Whatever you have lost was a heart vibration connected to love for you. Maybe it was a person. Maybe it was the love of your life. Maybe it was the love of your family. Maybe it was the love of your body and now facing an unknown future. But there's love there. That's why it hurts. So we settle in. And the first navigation point is to connect to this love because it hurts because we love. Love came first. And that love is connected to our heart, which is connected to our soul, which is connected to our soul contract, which is all these lessons. And let me tell you the truth, you're not going to know all the lessons and understand them at the beginning. But what we do in the beginning is we understand that this is bigger than the thing we have lost or the person we have lost or what is happening in our life. We understand that this is actually about me and my heart. And we anchor there in love and lessons. When we are ready to, we move to O. And O is obstacles and opportunities. Let's begin with obstacles. Obstacles, we create them and they are a part of the journey. So the ones that we create are the obstacles that we might create in our mind or in our heart or in our habits or in our beliefs. Like an obstacle may be choosing to not really feel your feelings and drink a bottle of wine instead. Hands up, that was me. That was one of my obstacles, is I'd get to a certain point in my feeling and then I needed to drown that. That was a major obstacle for me in my grief journey. And everyone is going to create these obstacles because it's also a part of our human experience. It's scary to go on the Lost to Magic journey, and so we're going to create an obstacle. We create some of those obstacles, and some of those obstacles are outside of our making. So an example like today, for the loss that some of us feel today, that obstacle is the real reality. I can't believe this is our future of the way the vote went. That's the obstacle. It's staring us in the face. So sometimes that obstacle is outside of you. Sometimes you create it inside, but there's always obstacles because you're now on a journey where you are the protagonist, you are the heroine, and there's going to be things that you are going to need to overcome. But as well as meeting these obstacles, we also meet opportunity. And the opportunity is where the lessons start to show themselves. There's opportunity here because when you start to work on your heart, you're working on your whole life and all of your relationships and in turn your soul. So if you've said yes to this journey, there's so many opportunities bubbling for you. Let me ground this in an example. So some of the people who I've supported on a Lost to Magic journey after connecting to the love and realizing, actually, this is about my heart and the repair of my heart and what this means for me, being honest about their obstacles, these are some of the opportunities that they found. There was one woman I was working with, and she remembered she loved photography. She hadn't picked up her camera for years. She got busy in the corporate world and she hadn't picked up her camera or her creativity in years. And she began to take pictures again. And in some ways, it brought her back to life because there was this imagination and creativity that came back into her life. There was another woman who realized the women I'm hanging out with, I don't think they've got my back. See, what had happened is over time, through circumstance and just simply how it works out, there were a group of women who this woman was hanging out with, and she didn't realize until her heart was open and she was really paying attention that, oh, this is not my soul sister tribe. I need to exit stage left and find some new women. And she did. And there's so many stories like this, because a lost to magic journey is actually not about who or what you've lost. It's about your heart. And your heart has so much to tell you when you're listening. Once we move past the obstacle and the opportunities, we find ourselves at the first S, which is sadness and screaming. Absolutely necessary. We must have expression. You've got to let the river run. You have to feel the sadness. And you also have to go to that extreme where the rage or the anger or the disbelief is. We need to go to these extremes of our emotions, because emotions are energy in motion, and they help us to pick up these threads and to stitch them back together, as well as overcoming this obstacle and discovering these opportunities for ourselves and remembering the love and connecting to the lessons. We must express. You have to give the space for what your feelings want to tell you, which is why people say feel your feelings and you've got to go through it. This is kind of what it's all about. But this is where people can often get stuck. They can become frozen at this point because one emotion can go on a loop. Or what happens a lot is I'm sitting here and there's that dark hole in front of me, and I fear that if I go into these feelings, I may never come back out. So many people have told me this. I remember meeting this point more than once of just like, I can't feel anymore. I can't feel anymore because I fear that if I keep feeling this intense emotion, I'm going to self-combust. I'm going to go into that dark hole and I'm probably never going to come back out. Or I'm never going to be the same. That's true. You aren't the same, but you do make your way out. So we go into the sadness and the screaming. And then in time, that transforms to the second S, which is surrender. You surrender to the magic. You surrender to your heart's journey. You surrender and accept the loss. You surrender to your soul contracts. And this is not defeat. This is not giving up. This is laying yourself open in the fertile ground, taking all that you have learned, all you feel now, and you surrender to the final stitching together of your energetic heart. The surrender is needed so your soul work can happen. And the surrender, you can't rush it. The surrender comes when you are ready. And after surrender and that deeper breath there, then you move towards the magic. Now the magic MAGIC. I'm going to tell you what that framework is so you have the navigation points, but I'm not going to go into the deeper detail of them, because this is what I find in a loss to magic journey is people want to rush the loss to get to the magic. And I want to invite you to stay with the loss a little longer, because there's so much there for you. Your heart is broken on purpose. And it's got everything to do with your soul. And yeah, you get to the surrender point and then you get to shift to the magic, but we can't rush that. But just so we know the full magical map and the framework of big life loss to big life magic, let's go to the magic. MAGIC. M is open to magic and mystery. It's where your life opens up. It's where you remember and you can feel it with your new stitched together heart. I'm freaking magical. I'm about to do something about it, which is the A, which is activation and action. It's where you begin to act and move in a new direction. And then G is gratitude, the great heart expander. I is intention and intuition, being really discerning around where you're going on your journey now and being guided by your intuitive wisdom. And then C is co-creation. For your big life magic is a co-creation between you, your earthbound heart, your soul, and the greater universe and this bigger narrative that we're all in. So that's where we all get to on this journey if we choose to go on the lost to magic journey. But again, I want to say, don't rush to the magic. It will come after the surrender. Be with the love and the lessons, the obstacles, the opportunities. Be sad, scream, because that's where the heart repair is taking place. Yeah, it's uncomfortable as humans. We don't want to stay there, but I invite you to stay a little bit longer because it's at service to your heart. And then from that expanded heart, you create new magic. And this is why it's important for women to alchemize our hearts, to not stay with the hurt, to not get beaten down again. Because we are building in strength. We are working our collective energetic heart. So this morning when I was sitting with the shock of the results of the election, and I was sitting with my broken open pieces, I connected to not just my heart, but the heart of the world, women's hearts. Women's hearts, which are the mothers of our world, the great creators of our world, women who are the nurturers who bring together in community. And we all continue to wish and work towards claiming our magic, our intuitive leadership, and we continue to get our hearts broken. Our collective human hearts are breaking. And for women, this has been happening again and again and again. And it's not only for women. There's definitely communities across the world that are in this same situation of broken, open again, despite building strength and stepping up, broken again. But the more that we can galvanize and work on the broken open and glean these lessons, build our strength, give ourselves the space to fucking scream, because this is infuriating. And it's heartbreaking deep into the crevice of Mother Earth. We've got to scream. We've got to be sad. We need to look for the opportunities of what's next. We need to be really clear about what these obstacles are, because they're still there. And most importantly, this is what I connected to this morning after I felt all of our hearts. We have to connect to the love, because that's why we're here. That's why we're here. And I believe that that's what women are going to continue to bring forward into our world, particularly as technology starts to become more advanced in the age of Aquarius, and we connect in different ways and we expand and evolve our world. We can't forget our humanness. We can't forget our hearts, and we can't forget that it's about love and connection. So women, alchemize our hearts, please. I know it's hard when you feel that you have tried and been knocked back again. But in the alchemizing of our hearts, we increase our power. And we are powerful. We are freaking magical. And there are obstacles, there are adversities, and the old systems are just taking their time in the dismantling and the untangling. And maybe we tried to rush towards the magic. I do trust in divine timing, and I also know that your heart knows. We all know. And we're allowed to be broken open, but we don't want to stay there. As women, we want to be on the lost to magic journey collectively together, so we can come together and strengthen as all of our energetic threads of our hearts come together to strengthen. Because this journey is not over. We have just hit the point on the map where again, our hearts are broken. So for all women today who are listening to this and feeling that, or maybe there's somebody in your life who you know is broken open, and it may be about our collective heart for women's leadership and intuitive wisdom across the world, or it may be something deeply personal, I invite just a little reflection. Where am I on the lost to magic journey? Am I at L, O, S, or S? Am I anywhere near the magic? Did I spend long enough in the loss? Because alchemizing our hearts is the greatest service to yourself, everybody you love, and in turn, the whole world. Because, you know, it's true. Women are freaking magical. It's true. Today and every day, I invite you to acknowledge your power, and if you need to, call your power back. To acknowledge where you are on your heart repair journey from loss to magic, and to remember that you're freaking magical. Because this is another day in a long story, and a story that we have been in for a long time. You're allowed to take a rest if you need to, but we continue. And the way forward is alchemizing our hearts and connecting to our power and bringing that magic alive. So every episode of You Are the Magic is dedicated, and I choose today to dedicate this episode to all of the women who now live in spirit, who have been earthbound in the years before today, who work towards women's empowerment, women's leadership, women's rights. We stand in line with you. Thank you for all that you worked through in your lifetimes so that we can be where we are now. And I invite you to support us as we continue this journey as women. to our ancestors, to the wonderful women and heroines before us. They are with you, my friends. Take a big deep breath with me now and send out a wish, a love, a blessing, or a prayer to either an ancestor or maybe a woman you know who today needs your love. My friends, we are freaking powerful and we are here today. Breathe it in. Know it to be true. That it's you. You are the magic. Big love. Thank you for sharing your time and your magic with me in the latest episode of You Are the Magic. I invite you now to stay connected to that magic within you. You may choose to connect via ATTUNE. It's a 5-day audio activation that's going to connect you to your intuition and then turn the volume of that inner guidance system up. You may also choose to become a member of the Big Life Magic Makers. It's our virtual community for women who are saying, yeah, I'm freaking magical and I want to be hanging out with some soul sisters who not only believe in their magic, but are supporting each other to activate it. There's so many ways you can support your magic today with your intuition through community by connecting to me, and I invite you to choose you and your magic now. If this episode or any of these episodes have supported you in any way, I would love your support by sharing a review on the platform that you are listening or watching on. It really helps me to get this podcast into more ears and more hearts so we can claim it as women. We are freaking magical and we are going to activate our magic to create the changes in the world that are moving us towards more love, abundance, prosperity, and joy. Breathe it in, believe it to be true. And to you, my friend, you are the magic.